The wedding dress felt like chains wrapped around her body. Vera stared at her reflection in the mirror, her honey-brown skin glowing against the pure white fabric, her dark curly hair pinned back with diamond clips that cost more than everything she had ever owned. She was beautiful. She was broken. And in exactly 1 hour, she would become the wife of a man she had never met. A man whose name made powerful men tremble. A man they called the Ghost of Seoul. Kang Jae-won. The Korean Mafia king who had just purchased her like property. Her hands trembled as she touched the cold glass of the mirror, watching tears slide down her cheeks. 24 hours ago, she had been a graduate student in London, dreaming of becoming a human rights lawyer. 24 hours ago, she had a future. Now, she had nothing but a contract signed in her father's blood debt. "Stop crying," her mother's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "You should be grateful. He could have killed your father. Instead, he offered marriage. You should be on your knees thanking him." Vera turned slowly, her eyes red and swollen. "Grateful? You sold me, mother. You and father sold me to a monster to save yourselves." Her mother's face remained stone cold. "Your father borrowed $50 million from the Kang family. $50 million he gambled away. When he couldn't pay, Kang Jae-won came to collect. He saw your photograph on our mantle and said he would forgive the entire debt if you became his wife. We had no choice." "There is always a choice," Vera whispered. "You just didn't choose me." The door opened, and 2 women in black suits entered. Their faces were expressionless, their eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. They moved like shadows, like trained killers dressed in designer clothes. "It is time," one of them said in Korean, her accent crisp and cold. "The boss is waiting." Vera walked down the aisle of the Grand Cathedral like a woman walking to her execution. Every step echoed against the marble floors. Every breath felt like her last. The church was filled with hundreds of guests, all of them strangers, all of them watching her with calculating eyes. These were not wedding guests. These were witnesses. Business associates. Mafia underbosses. People who had come to see the great Kang Jae-won finally take a wife. And then she saw him. Standing at the altar in a black 3-piece suit that probably cost more than most people's houses, Kang Jae-won was everything the rumors said he was and more. Tall, impossibly handsome, with sharp features that looked like they had been carved from ice. His black hair was swept back perfectly, not a single strand out of place. His jaw was defined, his cheekbones high, his lips pressed into a thin, emotionless line. But it was his eyes that stopped her heart. Cold. Empty. Dead. They were the eyes of a man who had killed without hesitation and would kill again. They were the eyes of a man who saw the world as pieces on a chessboard, and she was simply another piece he had acquired. He did not smile as she approached. He did not extend his hand. He simply watched her with those dead eyes, calculating, measuring, owning. "You came," he said, his voice low and deep, sending an involuntary shiver down her spine. "Did I have a choice?" she responded, surprised by the steadiness in her own voice. Something flickered in his eyes. Amusement? Surprise? It disappeared before she could identify it. "No," he said simply. "You did not." The ceremony was a blur of Korean words she barely understood, of vows that felt like prison sentences, of rings that felt like handcuffs. When the priest announced they were married, Kang Jae-won did not kiss her. He simply took her hand, his grip cold and firm, and led her out of the cathedral. The reception was held in a massive penthouse that overlooked the glittering lights of Seoul. Vera sat in a corner, still in her wedding dress, watching her new husband work the room. He moved from group to group, shaking hands, exchanging words, his face never changing from that cold, expressionless mask. Everyone bowed to him. Everyone feared him. "You look like you're at a funeral, not a wedding." Vera looked up to find a man standing before her. He was handsome too, in a softer, more approachable way than her husband. His eyes held warmth, his smile held kindness. "I'm Park Min-jun," he said, sitting down beside her without waiting for an invitation. Jaewon's younger brother. Well, half-brother, technically. Different mothers. He leaned closer, lowering his voice conspiratorially. Don't worry. He's not as scary as he looks. Well, actually, he is. But he won't hurt you. How do you know that? Vera asked. Min-jun's smile faltered for just a moment. Because he's never wanted anything the way he wanted you. When he saw your photograph, something changed in his eyes. I've never seen him like that before. Never. Before Vera could respond, a shadow fell over them. Kang Jae-won stood before them, his eyes fixed on his brother with an intensity that made the air feel heavy. Brother, Min-jun said, standing quickly. I was just keeping your lovely wife company. Leave. One word. That was all it took. Min-jun bowed his head and disappeared into the crowd, leaving Vera alone with her husband. Dance with me, Jae-won said. It was not a request. He took her hand and led her to the center of the room. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, everyone stepping back to give them space. A slow song began to play, something soft and melancholic, and Jae-won pulled her close. Vera's heart pounded against her chest as his hands settled on her waist. He held her firmly but not roughly, guiding her through the dance with surprising grace. You're trembling, he observed. I'm afraid of you, she admitted, looking up to meet his eyes. Good, he said. Fear keeps people alive. They danced in silence for a long moment, the world around them fading away until it felt like they were the only two people in existence. Why me? Vera finally asked. Of all the women in the world, why me? Jae-won's hand tightened almost imperceptibly on her waist. Because you have fire in your eyes. I saw it in that photograph. Everyone else in your family looked broken, defeated. But you looked ready to fight. I knew then that I wanted you. Wanted me for what? His lips curved into the smallest hint of a smile. That remains to be seen. The night ended with Vera being led to the master bedroom of Jae-won's penthouse. It was enormous, decorated in shades of black and gray, with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a breathtaking view of the city below. She stood in the center of the room, still in her wedding dress, her heart racing with fear and anticipation. Jae-won entered behind her, closing the door with a soft click that felt deafening in the silence. Relax, he said, walking past her to a small bar in the corner of the room. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey and handed one to her. I'm not going to force myself on you. Vera took the glass with shaking hands. Then what are we doing here? We're getting to know each other. He sat down in a large armchair, crossing one leg over the other, looking completely at ease. Tell me about yourself, wife. The word sounded strange coming from his lips. Strange and somehow intimate. What do you want to know? She asked cautiously. Everything. Your dreams. Your fears. Your secrets. I want to know all of it. Vera took a long sip of whiskey, letting the burn settle her nerves. My dream was to become a lawyer. To help people who couldn't help themselves. To fight for justice. And now? Now I'm the wife of a criminal, she said bitterly. Justice seems very far away. Jae-won's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. You think I'm a monster. Aren't you? He set down his glass and stood, walking toward her slowly. Vera's breath caught in her throat as he stopped mere inches away from her, so close she could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive. Yes, he said softly. I am exactly the monster you think I am. I have killed men with my bare hands. I have destroyed families. I have built an empire on blood and fear. But here is what you need to understand, Vera. He reached out and gently tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his eyes. I will never hurt you. You are mine now, and I protect what is mine with everything I have. No one will ever touch you. No one will ever harm you. From this moment forward, your enemies are my enemies. Your pain is my pain. Do you understand? She didn't understand. Nothing about this made sense. He was a cold-blooded killer who spoke of protection like it was a wedding vow more sacred than the ones they had exchanged in the church. Why? She whispered. Why do you care what happens to me? For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then he released her chin and stepped back. Get some sleep, he said. Tomorrow, your new life begins. He walked out of the room without another word, leaving Vera alone in the darkness, more confused than ever. The days that followed were strange and surreal. Vera found herself living in a world she never knew existed, a world of private jets and luxury cars, of bodyguards and bulletproof glass, of whispered conversations and dangerous glances. Jae-won was gone most of the time, attending to business that she knew better than to ask about. But when he was home, he was surprisingly attentive. He asked about her day. He made sure she had everything she needed. He even arranged for her to continue her law studies through private tutoring. Why are you doing this? She asked one evening as they sat together for dinner. The table was covered with dishes she didn't recognize, Korean delicacies that the private chef had prepared. Doing what? Being kind to me. You could treat me like a prisoner. You could treat me like property. Instead, you're treating me like... She hesitated, searching for the right word. Like a wife, he finished for her. Yes. Jae-won set down his chopsticks and looked at her with those intense eyes. Because that is what you are. My wife. Not my prisoner. Not my property. My wife. But our marriage isn't real, she protested. It's a business transaction. You bought me to settle my father's debt. I did, he agreed. But that doesn't mean it can't become real. Vera's heart skipped a beat. What are you saying? I'm saying that I want you to give me a chance. I'm not asking for love. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for time. Time to show you who I really am. She wanted to refuse. Every rational part of her brain screamed that this was a trap, that he was manipulating her, that falling for him would be the biggest mistake of her life. But another part of her, a small part that she tried desperately to ignore, was curious. What lay beneath that cold exterior? What secrets hid behind those dead eyes? Fine, she heard herself say. I'll give you time. But I'm not promising anything. The ghost of a smile crossed his lips. That's all I ask. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit the like button and leave a comment telling me what you think will happen next. Your engagement means the world to this channel and helps more people discover these stories. Now, let's see what happens as Vera begins to discover the truth about her mysterious husband. Weeks passed, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, things began to change. Vera caught herself looking forward to their dinners together. She found herself listening at the door when he came home late at night. She noticed when he seemed tired, when he seemed stressed, when something was bothering him. And she began to see things about him that surprised her. She saw how he treated his staff with respect, never raising his voice, always remembering their names and asking about their families. She saw how he donated millions to orphanages and hospitals, always anonymously, never seeking credit. She saw how he visited his mother's grave every Sunday, sitting for hours in the rain, speaking to a headstone as if it could hear him. What happened to her? Vera asked one day, finding the courage to broach the subject. Jae-won's expression darkened. She was killed. When I was 12 years old. I'm so sorry. How did it happen? He was silent for so long that she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he said, My father's enemies took her. They tortured her for 3 days. When they finally sent her body back, I didn't recognize her. Vera's hand flew to her mouth, horror flooding through her. My father did nothing, Jae-won continued, his voice growing harder. He was too busy with his other wife, Min-jun's mother. He didn't care about the woman who had loved him faithfully for 20 years. He didn't care about her son, who was left alone to bury her. Jae-won. I swore on her grave that I would make them pay. Every single one of them. It took me 15 years, but I found them all. And I killed them all. He looked at her, and for the first time, she saw emotion in his eyes. Not coldness, not emptiness, but pain. Raw, overwhelming pain. That's why I became this. This monster you see. I didn't have a choice. Vera moved without thinking. She crossed the room and wrapped her arms around him, holding him close. He stiffened at first, surprised by the contact. But then, slowly, his arms came around her, pulling her tight against his chest. They stayed like that for a long time, two broken souls finding unexpected comfort in each other. Everything changed between them after that night. The walls Jae-won had built around himself began to crack, revealing glimpses of the man beneath the monster. He smiled more. He laughed more. He touched her more, small touches that sent electricity through her veins. A hand on her back. A brush of fingers against her cheek. A kiss pressed to her forehead when he thought she was sleeping. And Vera found herself falling. Despite everything she knew about him, despite everything she had told herself, she was falling in love with Kang Jae-won. The realization hit her one morning when she woke up to find him watching her sleep. The morning light was filtering through the curtains, casting golden shadows across his face, making him look younger, softer. "Good morning," he said, and his voice was warm in a way it never had been before. "Good morning," she replied, and her heart was so full she thought it might burst. He reached out and tucked a strand of her curly hair behind her ear. "I have something to tell you." "What is it?" He took a deep breath. "I love you." Vera's breath caught in her throat. "What?" "I love you, Vera. I've loved you since the moment I saw your photograph. I know it sounds crazy. I know I'm the last person who deserves your love. But I can't help it. You've changed me. You've made me want to be better. You've made me believe that maybe, just maybe, I'm not completely lost." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Jae-won. You don't have to say it back. I don't expect you to feel the same way. I just needed you to know. I needed you to know that you're not just my wife. You're my heart. My soul. My everything." She kissed him. It was impulsive and reckless and everything she had told herself not to do. But in that moment, none of that mattered. All that mattered was the feeling of his lips against hers, the way his hands tangled in her hair, the way he held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. "I love you too," she whispered against his lips. "God help me, I love you too." Their relationship deepened after that confession. No longer were they strangers pretending to be married. They were husband and wife in every sense of the word, building a life together that neither of them had ever expected. Jae-won showered her with love in ways both grand and small. He flew her to Paris for their first real honeymoon, renting out the entire Eiffel Tower for a private dinner. He learned to cook Nigerian dishes so he could make her feel more at home. He held her when she cried about missing her old life and promised her that she would never have to miss anything again. But darkness was lurking on the horizon, waiting to destroy everything they had built. It started with a phone call. Vera was in her study, working on an assignment for her law studies, when her phone rang. The number was unknown, but she answered anyway. "Hello? Vera." The voice was male, cold, and filled with venom. "Do you know who this is?" Her blood ran cold. "Who is this?" "My name is Choi Sung-ho. Your husband killed my father 10 years ago. He took everything from me. My family. My fortune. My future. Now I'm going to take everything from him. And that starts with you." The line went dead. Vera sat frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. With trembling hands, she reached for her phone and dialed Jae-won's number. "Baby? What's wrong?" His voice was immediately alert, sensing her distress. "Someone called me. Someone named Choi Sung-ho. He said he's going to take everything from you. Starting with me." Silence. Then, in a voice she had never heard before, a voice of pure, cold fury, Jae-won said, "Don't move. I'm coming." He arrived within 20 minutes, flanked by a dozen of his men. He swept into the penthouse like a storm, his eyes scanning every corner for threats before settling on her. "Are you okay?" He cupped her face in his hands, examining her as if looking for injuries. "I'm fine. I'm just scared." "Jae-won, who is this man?" His jaw tightened. "Choi Sung-ho is the son of Choi Dong-wook, the man who ordered my mother's death." Vera's eyes widened. "The man you killed?" "Yes. I thought his son was dead. I was wrong." He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. "I won't let him touch you. Do you understand? I will burn this entire city to the ground before I let anyone hurt you." But Choi Sung-ho was not deterred by Jae-won's threats. Over the following weeks, the attacks came relentlessly. A car bomb that Jae-won's men detected just in time. A sniper who missed by inches. Poisoned wine that was discovered before it could be served. Each attack was more brazen than the last, each one a message that Sung-ho would not stop until he had his revenge. Jae-won became obsessed with finding him. He spent every waking moment hunting, his men scouring every corner of the city for any sign of his enemy. He barely slept. He barely ate. And he pulled away from Vera, determined to keep her at arm's length so she wouldn't be caught in the crossfire. "You can't do this," she said one night, confronting him in his office. "You can't shut me out. I'm protecting you. You're hurting me. I'd rather face danger by your side than be safe and alone. You don't understand what you're asking. Then make me understand." She walked around his desk and knelt before him, taking his hands in hers. "I'm your wife. Your partner. Your equal. Let me help you." He looked at her for a long moment, conflict warring in his eyes. Then he pulled her up onto his lap and held her close. "You're the most stubborn woman I've ever met," he said. "And you love me for it. God help me, I do." The turning point came when Sung-ho made his biggest mistake. He kidnapped Park Min-jun. Jae-won's half-brother was found in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Seoul, beaten and bloody but alive. Along with him was a note, "Come alone, or he dies. Tomorrow night. Midnight. The old factory on the river." "It's obviously a trap," Vera said. "I know. You can't go." "I have to. He's my brother." "He's the brother who's been trying to undermine you for years," she reminded him. "The brother who's been in contact with Sung-ho." Jae-won's eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" Vera pulled out a folder she had been compiling for weeks. "I've been investigating. I'm training to be a lawyer, remember? I know how to find evidence. Min-jun has been working with Sung-ho since before we got married. He's the one who told him about me. He's the one who's been feeding him information about your movements. The kidnapping isn't real. It's bait." Jae-won stared at the evidence, his face cycling through shock, disbelief, and finally, cold rage. "My own brother," he said quietly. "My own blood. I'm sorry." He looked at her, and despite the fury in his eyes, there was something else. Gratitude. Wonder. Love. "You did this for me? I would do anything for you." He kissed her then, hard and desperate, pouring all his emotions into that single moment of connection. "We end this tonight," he said. Together. They went to the factory, but not as Sung-ho expected. While Jae-won walked through the front door, Vera led a team through the back, her legal training combined with the tactical knowledge Jae-won's men had taught her, making her a formidable force. The fight was brutal and bloody. Sung-ho had assembled an army, but Jae-won had built an empire. His men were better trained, better equipped, and fighting for the man they had sworn their lives to. Vera found Min-jun in a room on the second floor, not tied up as a prisoner, but sitting comfortably with a glass of wine. "Sister-in-law," he said, his smile cruel. I was hoping you'd come. I've wanted to kill you since the day you married my brother. Why? She asked, keeping her voice steady. What did I ever do to you? You made him soft. Before you, he was the perfect weapon. Cold. Ruthless. Unstoppable. Now he's weak. Distracted. Vulnerable. You ruined him. I saved him, Vera corrected. I showed him that there's more to life than death and revenge. Min Jun's smile turned into a sneer. And that's exactly why you have to die. He lunged at her, but Vera was ready. She had spent months training, preparing, refusing to be a damsel in distress. She blocked his first attack, dodged his second, and on his third, she struck. Her fist connected with his jaw, sending him stumbling backward. Before he could recover, she pulled out the gun she had hidden in her waistband and aimed it at his chest. I'm not the helpless victim you thought I was, she said. You won't shoot me. You're too good. Too pure. You're right. I am too good to shoot an unarmed man. She lowered the gun slightly. But I'm not too good to let my husband deal with you. The door behind her opened, and Jae-won stepped through. His suit was stained with blood, his knuckles were bruised, but his eyes were clear and focused. Brother, he said, the word dripping with contempt. Min Jun's face paled. Jae-won, I can explain. Explain what? How you betrayed me. How you aligned with the man who wanted to destroy everything I've built. How you tried to kill my wife. She was supposed to make you weak. That was the plan. But she made you stronger, and I knew then that I would never be able to take your place. The only way was to remove you both. Jae-won walked toward him slowly, each step deliberate, each step deadly. Our mother loved you, Jae-won said quietly. When your mother died in childbirth, my mother raised you as her own. She sang you lullabies. She nursed your fevers. She loved you with everything she had. And this is how you repay her memory? Min Jun's mask of cruelty cracked, and for a moment, fear showed through. Jae-won, please. You will spend the rest of your life in a prison of my making, Jae-won declared. You will have no visitors, no comfort, no hope. You will have nothing but time to think about what you've done. He turned to his men. Take him. As Min Jun was dragged away, screaming and cursing, Jae-won turned to face Sung-ho, who had been cornered by the remainder of his men. This is between us, Sung-ho spat. You killed my father. You destroyed my family. Your father tortured and murdered an innocent woman, Jae-won replied. He got what he deserved. And what about you? Will you get what you deserve? Jae-won smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a predator who had finally cornered his prey. What I deserve, he said, is the life I've built with my wife. The love we share. The future we're creating together. That's what I deserve. And you will never take that from me. The fight that followed was brief but intense. Sung-ho was skilled, driven by hatred and the desire for revenge. But Jae-won was fighting for something more powerful. He was fighting for love. When it was over, Sung-ho lay defeated on the ground, alive but broken. Kill me, he gasped. Finish it. No, Jae-won said. You will live. You will live knowing that you failed. That your revenge meant nothing. That I am happy, and whole, and loved, despite everything you tried to do. He turned and walked toward Vera, leaving Sung-ho to be collected by the authorities that would ensure he never threatened them again. It's over, Jae-won said, pulling her into his arms. It's over, she agreed, tears of relief streaming down her face. They stood there for a long moment, holding each other in the aftermath of battle, two survivors who had found their way through the darkness. As our story reaches its beautiful conclusion, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching until the end. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like and share it with someone who loves a good romance. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next captivating tale of love and destiny. The sun rose over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, as Vera and Jae-won stood on the balcony of their penthouse, watching the city wake up. "What happens now?" she asked softly. "Whatever we want," he replied. "We're free, Vera. Free to build whatever life we choose." She turned in his arms to face him. "What kind of life do you want?" He looked at her with eyes that were no longer cold or empty. They were warm, filled with love and hope and all the possibilities of their future together. "I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to argue with you about ridiculous things and make up with you in even more ridiculous ways. I want to grow old with you, to watch our children grow, to build something that lasts long after we're gone. I want everything with you, Vera. Everything." She kissed him, soft and sweet and full of promise. "Then let's have everything." 1 year later, Vera graduated from law school with honors. Jae-won was in the front row, cheering louder than anyone, his usually stoic face split into a wide grin. After the ceremony, he presented her with 2 gifts. The first was a building in downtown Seoul, a fully equipped law office with her name on the door. A place where she could fight for justice, just as she had always dreamed. The second gift made her cry. It was a letter from her parents, the first contact they had made since her wedding. They had been too ashamed to reach out, too guilty about what they had done. But Jae-won had tracked them down, had met with them, had helped them understand that despite everything, Vera had found happiness. "They want to see you," Jae-won said softly. "Only if you want to." Vera held the letter to her heart, tears streaming down her face. "You did this for me? I would do anything for you. Haven't you learned that by now?" She laughed through her tears and threw her arms around him. "I love you, Kang Jae-won. I love you more than I ever thought possible. And I love you, Vera. My wife. My heart. My home." 6 months later, their first child was born. A daughter with her mother's honey-brown skin and her father's intense eyes. They named her Ji-yeon, meaning foundation of beauty, because she was the foundation of their new family, the symbol of their love and their triumph over adversity. As Jae-won held his daughter for the first time, tears falling freely down his face, Vera saw the final pieces of his walls crumble away. The cold mafia king was gone, replaced by a loving husband and devoted father. "She's perfect," he whispered. "She is," Vera agreed. "Just like her father." He looked at her, surprise in his eyes. "You think I'm perfect? I think you're everything I never knew I needed. I think that what started as an arranged marriage, a forced union, has become the greatest love story of my life. I think that despite all the pain and fear and uncertainty, I would do it all again. Every single moment. Because it led me to you." Jae-won set their daughter gently in her crib and pulled his wife into his arms. "I made you a promise on our wedding night," he said. "I told you I would protect you with everything I have. But that promise has grown. I don't just want to protect you anymore. I want to cherish you. Honor you. Love you with every breath I take for the rest of my life. And I want to stand beside you through everything. The darkness and the light. The struggles and the triumphs. We're partners, Jae-won. In every way that matters." They kissed, a kiss that held all the love and passion and commitment of their journey together. Years passed, and their family grew. 2 more children followed Ji-yeon, a son named Sung-ho, meaning succeeding in greatness, and another daughter named Amara, a Nigerian name meaning grace. Jae-won slowly transitioned his business empire from the shadows into the light, using his wealth and influence to build hospitals and schools and foundations that helped people in need. The ghost of Seoul became the philanthropist of Seoul, a man respected and admired, a man who had transformed himself through the power of love. Vera built a law practice that became famous throughout Asia for its commitment to justice. She took on cases that no one else would touch, fought for clients that everyone else had abandoned, and won more often than she lost. Together, they became a power couple unlike any the world had seen. A Korean Mafia king turned philanthropist and an African lawyer turned advocate. 2 people from different worlds who had found in each other the perfect balance of strength and tenderness, passion and peace. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Jaewon took Vera back to the cathedral where they had been married. But this time, the ceremony was different. This time, they renewed their vows not because of a business deal or a family debt, but because they wanted to. Because they chose each other. Because they loved each other more than they had on the day they first met. "I married you because I saw fire in your eyes," Jaewon said, holding her hands in his. "But I stayed because I found home in your heart. You showed me that I was worthy of love. You showed me that redemption was possible. You saved me, Vera. You saved me in every way a person can be saved." Vera's eyes glistened with tears. "I married you because I had no choice. But I would marry you again 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, because you showed me that love can bloom in the most unexpected places. You showed me that strength comes in many forms, and that the strongest form of all is the willingness to be vulnerable with someone you trust. I love you, Kang Jaewon. Today, tomorrow, and forever." They kissed as the sunset streamed through the stained glass windows, painting them in colors of gold and rose and violet. Their children cheered from the front row. Their friends and family applauded. And somewhere, somehow, they knew that everyone who had ever doubted them was watching, seeing the proof that love could conquer all. That night, they stood on their balcony, just as they had a decade ago, watching the lights of Seoul twinkle like stars. "Do you ever regret it?" Jaewon asked softly. "The way we began?" Vera thought about it for a long moment. She thought about the fear and the pain and the uncertainty. She thought about the nights she had cried herself to sleep. She thought about the moment she had realized she was falling in love with a man she was supposed to hate. "No," she said finally. "I don't regret a single moment. Because every moment led us here. To this life. To this love. To this family. How could I regret something so beautiful?" He pulled her close, and she rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "You know," he said, "when I first saw your photograph, I thought I was saving you. Taking you away from a family that didn't deserve you. Giving you a better life. And now? Now I know the truth. You were the one who saved me. You were the light that guided me out of the darkness. You were my redemption, my salvation, my everything." She looked up at him, and in his eyes, she saw the reflection of their entire journey. The pain and the joy. The fear and the love. The beginning and the forever. "We saved each other," she said. "That's what love does. It makes us brave enough to save each other." He kissed her, long and deep and full of promise, and in that moment, they were not the ghost of Seoul and the woman he had bought to settle a debt. They were Jaewon and Vera. Husband and wife. Partners. Best friends. Soulmates. They were forever. And as the moon rose over Seoul, casting silver light over the city that had witnessed their love story, they held each other close and knew, with absolute certainty, that this was exactly where they were meant to be. No arranged marriage could have given them what they had built together. No forced union could have created the love that burned between them. It was theirs, born of pain and nurtured by choice, a love that had been tested by fire and emerged stronger than steel. This was their story. The story of a woman who was forced to marry a cold Korean Mafia CEO, only to discover that beneath the ice was a heart capable of boundless love. The story of a man who thought he was beyond redemption, only to find salvation in the arms of the woman he had claimed as his own. It was not a fairy tale. It was messier than that, more complicated, more real. But it was beautiful. And it was theirs. Forever. Thank you so much for watching this incredible love story until the very end. Your support means everything to this channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment telling me what you thought of Jaewon and Vera's journey. What was your favorite moment? What made you cry? What made you smile? I read every single comment and I love hearing from you. Share this video with a friend who loves a good romance, and I'll see you in the next story. Until then, take care of yourselves and remember that love can be found in the most unexpected places.